Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Howdy Partner. Super excited to have everyone. We've got some great guests here today. So we've got our first-time host Raj with us. He works with me here at AWS, and we also have Bill Kerr here from SHI. And I need to tell a quick story before we get too deep into things. The first time I met Bill was a few weeks ago. And the first time I see him, he's sitting out on his dock, just like beautiful waterfront behind him. I was like, this guy must have like the best like work setup situation I have ever seen. It was absolutely incredible. And so
You asked me if I had one of those fake backgrounds, and I like a moving one, I was like, nope, it's a real thing, man.
I thought 100% that it was a fake background. But then like a boat came through and I was like, wow, this is like super elaborate. It was absolutely amazing. And yeah, so we're starting out. We all have our hats on for Halloween. We're a couple days off, but we've got our farmer hat, our time traveler, and the hat that I had sitting on my desk. And so that's who I am today. In the chat, if anybody's...
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Everybody comment, what did you do for Halloween? We'd love to hear about it. But otherwise, yeah, I'd love to just turn it over to Raj to just introduce yourself and a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today.
Hey guys, my name is Raj Chaudhary. I'm a global SA lead with AWS, covering SHI. I'm thrilled to be working with Bill Kerr, Taz here. So we'll look forward to a great session with you all.
Great. And Bill, everyone knows everything I think they need to know about you with the whole doc story, but is there anything else you need to add?
This is actually a sombrero, man.
Oh,
not a cowboy hat.
Oh, my bad. my hat knowledge is just not high enough. And I like the comment there in chat. Yeah, I'm from Life Aquatic. For all the Wes Anderson films or film fans out there. So, well, cool. So today's episode is going to be super fun. We're going to be talking about CDK. So if anyone out there has been doing any development work and infrastructure partitioning, the CDK it's hot right now. It's so hot right now. And Bill's here, and he's going to introduce a tool that he's created to basically improve that process a little bit, to make things a little bit more organized and help you out in your development and just overall DevOps cycle. But before we get into that, Raj, do you mind just giving us a little bit more of an introduction into CDK and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into a lot of the serious talk, right? So let's talk about Halloween. How was y'all's Halloween weekend? Bill, Taz, how was yours?
I'll tell you, around here in the island, there were like no kids out, and basically, I think they were all just trying to avoid getting the trick or the trick or treat, like the COVID trick. So the streets were pretty empty, man, I gotta say.
Wow. It's quite the contrary here in Texas. We had, I had met a couple of neighbors that I've never seen them before, so they were out with their kids. But yeah, we had to do like socially distant giving candy type of thing, in Ziploc bags and things like that.
Totally.
How about you, Taz?
Yeah, so I went out and trick-or-treated. I don't have any kids, but I love free candy. I'm totally kidding there. I did not do that, but was able to hand out some. So we saw some kids come through. There was some great AM comments. I trick-or-treated his house. I did stop by his house in real life to say hi. And Other than that, this weekend I played a little bit of chess. I actually went to a chess tournament. First time I've ever done something like that. Lost 3
Oh,
games in a
man.
row, so I started off real solid.
Uh,
My chess career is off on the right track. So, yeah, it was a good
did
I
you
love
moment.
play chess at high school at all or in college?
No, I wouldn't say that I knew the rules. That was about it. Like when I was a kid, I learned how to play the game, but never really played. It was just it's a good thing to do online these days, and so it's easy to just throw up a game and decided let's see how I do over a real board, and it turns out the answer is not that great. So whatever. It was a fun time though, a good way to spend the weekend. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
No.
I actually was the chess club president in high school. I played a lot of chess, so
no way.
I mean I don't really play it as much now anymore, but it's kind of funny. Like back in the day, it was a thing to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. As far as chess, I did play a lot of chess, and I used to take my son for all the chess tournaments. He was like a 1200 rated chess champ. He was actually pretty sharp. So I've gone to like, I don't know, at least hundreds of chess tournaments with him. So,
Oh wow.
nervous time watching your kid play, it's like, wow, why did he make that move? But anyway, it was fun. All right, let's get back to some serious business here. Let's talk about
do we have
CDK,
to?
CRPM. I know, right? This is going much better, I think. Okay, so let's talk about CDK, right? First, and then we'll turn it over to Bill for CRPM. So CDK, without going into too much of a depth here, it's the cloud development kit. It's an open source software development framework to basically kind of put your cloud application resources using familiar languages, right? Whether it's TypeScript, Python, JavaScript, and then I think Golang and all that stuff is coming up, right? I mean, end of the day, you want to be able to, it's a challenging process, right? Putting your cloud native applications together, writing custom scripts, maintaining templates, and this brings it all together where you can provision your resource in a safe, repeatable manner through the help of AWS CloudFormation. So that's in a nutshell what CDK does. There's a lot of Twitch sessions and things like that you guys can watch here and on YouTube on AWS CDK. So Taz, if you don't mind putting the link, yeah, you already got that
I
there.
got it.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Yeah.
So
This button just sucks you in.
Yeah, I'm
You want to
Yeah.
click that button, don't you?
Oh, if there's a button on a page, you gotta click it. But yeah, no, I like to think of when I first learned about the CDK, like the way that I heard it summarized was it's cloud formation with for loops, and like that seems like a way oversimplification, but it's super powerful. Being able to programmatically, partition that stuff. But as great as it is, there are still some areas that can get complicated, and I think that's kind of what Bill, what your whole idea was. Like when you started down this idea, what was the big problem you were looking to solve?
Well, when I actually started down this path, it was before CDK was even around, and I was trying to basically come up with a set of reusable kind of components in terms of like YAML templates, CloudFormation templates, and break them down into a way that I could kind of manage. So that I could I'm the kind of guy that's very organized. I like to know that whenever I get something, I have a place where it goes, a place that's not going to be messy, that I'm going to be able to go back to and know where it is and use that for the rest of my life. And then if I can organize a lot of stuff, I can have a lot of stuff. So I started going down that route and building out a lot of different components. And back in the day, I actually called them cloud blocks. They were like little building blocks that you could build your cloud with. And then when CDK got released in the alpha or the beta phase, I started thinking, man, this is really cool. This is probably going to be the future. I need to jump on this and not make CloudFormation templates. I need to make my components that are reusable in this. So I started looking at it, and I started realizing there were things that I liked about YAML, and there were things I liked about code. And so I was like, well, maybe I can have my cake and eat it too. I want to have the parts of YAML that are the good parts still, and then I want to have the parts of CDK that are the good parts. And so it's just about shifting the right amount of logic into CDK and the right amount of property assignment into YAML files, slicing them, dicing them all up so you have bite-sized things that are, you got a fighting chance opening it up and figuring out what's in there. And we'll show you that all in a bit here. We're going to show you examples of this and do some cool things with it. But that's kind of how I got started with this particular endeavor.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're going to show us what CRPM is, how is it going to help us? And if I have to take a guess at this, Bill, from what you're saying, from a business use case, right, from what our customers are going to be thinking about, right? I mean, they probably know a little bit about AWS CDK, but now they have CRPM on top of it, which is going to help them make their life a lot easier. So I would say ease of use, developer friendliness, and ease of extensibility. Those are all I can think of as key business use cases. What else? Am I missing anything else?
I always think of the word maintenance or maintain, that root word right there, because I think about it in terms of it's one thing to get a developer to come in there and build it in the beginning, or an architect to design it. But what about when they leave and they jump ship to another company? Then you got somebody else that has to pick up where they left off and figure it all out. And it's pretty easy to figure out a YAML file that doesn't have too much in it. So, and if you have it well organized with file names and folder names, they have a fighting chance to kind of keep that going. So everything that I think about is how do I get a developer to build something initially with an architect and then go on to other stuff that's more fun in life and hand it off to operations or other people that are lower pay grade that can just increase sizes and maintain this thing as it needs to go through the whole life cycle.
Well, and the use case that I think of, when you're going through that is for people that are doing any kind of consulting work, you want to deliver a good product to your customer, but in some cases you don't want to have to maintain that forever and ever. And honestly, writing maintainable
Nobody does.
Right, yeah. And writing maintainable infrastructure is not so easy all the time. You just have to, really think ahead, as you're doing stuff. Is this going to be useful to people down the road, or is this something that they could potentially mess up? It's definitely difficult. And even if you're not doing consulting work, I know most of my friends in a lot of the friends that I have in tech, they don't stick around in their jobs for that long. They'll come in and then they'll shift over to somewhere else. And so
generally you start on a new project at the company. If you're new to it, new to the company, you get put on the junkie project. And so what happens is when you're good at the company and you're shifting around different projects, you start out with ones and you have fun building it. And then when you get bored of it, you go on to the next one, and some new guy gets in there that just got the job, and he's going to have to get stuck on maintaining something, which isn't as much fun as developing new stuff. And being that he's also new, he needs to be able to kind of pick up in an easy manner and have a fighting chance of maintaining it. If that doesn't happen, you get the classical case of, this code sucks, I'm going to rebuild it all from scratch and make it my way. Because almost everyone hates their own code. Even a year later, you don't even like your own code. You could refactor for infinity.
Oh,
so
for sure.
The smaller you can make it and the more modular and templated you can make it, the less you can find a reason to hate it.
I mean, the core concept also here, Bill, is doing it the GitOps way, right? I mean, you want to check everything into a Git repo, like code commit or your GitHub repo, and keep it very consistent. As people come and go, you want to make sure you manage and maintain that code properly, the set of code pipelines. So, yeah, we want to see more.
Yeah, and when you slice and dice things into bite-sized pieces, it's great. It's really good for code reuse, because then you can go in and just grab a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Maybe you like how this subnet was set up. Maybe you like how this instance was done in the past. And so everyone copies and pastes code, and at least you're copying and pasting smaller things that are ready to hit the ground running with, rather than you're copying a big template off GitHub that has everything and more, and then stripping stuff out of it you don't want and gluing together this stuff with that stuff. So it kind of like lends itself for code reuse, and then it lends itself for just sticking a CI/CD pipeline, watching it for changes.
Cool. Sounds good. Show us more on CRPM.
All right. Well, normally you put your thinking cap on, but since this is the farming cap, I'm going to take it off so I can think, because I don't want to farm right now.
That works. And actually, I'm going to do the same. I'm like burning up right now. It is so hot in my room.
It looks like a red fire on your head. It kind of looks like a flame.
Yeah, between that and we got a little bit of the backlight there. Yeah, it looks like I'm on fire here. So.
All right. So, CRPM. This was a product that we built open sourced. I work for a company called SHI. Actually, we today, of all days, my division has joined a new day one venture with Stratascale. So from now on, it'll be Stratascale, but we'll get more into that another day.
Hey, congratulations to you guys. So want to definitely congratulate you guys on that, on Stratascale.
Thanks.
So.
Yep, I'm going to go to the stratosphere. We're going to scale you to the stratosphere. So,
there you go.
So CRPM, it's your typical open source project on GitHub, and don't think of it like a giant project like CDK. CDK is a beast of a project. CRPM is like the beast's little buddy. And so you still try to do everything you can in CDK, but what you do is you use CRPM to import some helper stuff for you. So kind of just to show you an example, you could come to the website here, shi.github.io/CRPM, and we have some animated GIFs right on the home page where you can kind of see how this all works without having to do what we're about to do. But of course, I always like it better when people go and get CRPM installed and follow the quick start. So I'll show you how easy that is. When I do things, I really like to use Cloud9, I must confess. So let's go ahead and fire open a new environment.
So Bill, before you go ahead, what is Cloud9 for folks that may not be familiar with Cloud9? Can you give a 1 minute quick talk on that?
So Cloud9 is an IDE in the cloud. It's a terminal in the cloud. It's an easy way to just double click on a text file in a folder and not have to use Vim. I don't know if you guys all want to fight about what's your favorite code editor to use, but I guess I'm a VI guy myself, but otherwise I like this, and I like the fact that it runs right out of the browser.
I like Emacs.
Uh-oh. Sounds like we got some conflict here. Do we need to dish this out? Nah, I think we should probably hold off. But if you in the chat though, if anyone has any opinions, Emacs, Vim, or it looks like we have a vote here for Microsoft Word as well.
Okay.
Hey, that was good back in the day in the 90s. That was how you build a website. You go in there and make it happen, man. You get that HTML code and the Word. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was a gateway drug to web development.
Cool.
All right, so as you can see, we've got a little terminal there in the bottom. Once you get in your Cloud9 environment, we've got a little folder browser on the left-hand side, a bunch of options. If you click in here, it's going to be white, but you can just go down into View and then go into Themes, UI Themes, and change it to dark if you like this kind of look. Say we're going to come in here. The great thing about Cloud9 is they already have Node installed, so you're good to go there. And they also already have CDK installed for you. So the only thing you really have to do when you pop into Cloud9 is install CRPM, and also we like to install TypeScript because CRPM is actually, so CDK, as Raj mentioned, is a lot of different languages. It's Java, it's TypeScript. Formerly, they started out pretty much with all the documentation in TypeScript and moved on from there. So my product works with TypeScript exclusively, but CDK does not. So what I like to do here is install globally my product and also TypeScript, just so you can make a TypeScript app inside of CDK. So we'll get that going.
Nice. All right.
And after that installs, we'll start playing around.
Nice. So in this quick start, Bill, what are you showing us? Are you implementing? I saw something about a S3 bucket or something like that.
First time you come in here, it'll ask you that yes or no question. You can just hit yes and move over. So CRPM imports properties files, and an example kind of property file would look a lot like this example property template. So let's say you imported a security group, then you'd have this properties file, and it basically has like certain kind of name value associations all ready for you to start typing into. They're uncommented if they're required, and they're commented out if they're optional, so it kind of makes your life easy. You can scan through and find anything that's required real fast. And then you can kind of go and pick different values for these based on copying the link through the documentation, fire it open in the browser here, and there you can see what are all the different possibilities for this. So you can kind of get an idea here. Type list, egress. So I kind of like this method because once you throw somebody into a file like this, they can pretty much get around and figure everything out, and yet they have all their defaults, or they have all the required ones uncommented where they can get in, just set the name real fast. And a lot of managing a cloud is about managing the properties, if you think about it, because everything in AWS is just a cloud resource. It's like a bucket, S3 bucket, or it's EC2 instance, or it's a container inside of a cluster. You have all these different things, and what they are is they're basically a set of properties that configure that thing. And so first, when you want to create it, you create this resource by telling which properties you want for this resource and firing it off. And then in the future, when you want to maintain it and change it over time, you're just changing those properties. So all you need to do really to manage your cloud is manage the properties. Hence CRPM, Cloud Resource Property Manager.
I really like that way of thinking about it because, like, traditionally if you're working with like a server rack, there's a high amount of permanence when there's actually hardware that you're dealing with. But with the cloud, you're right. Like, the fact that it is essentially just a set of configurations, it's a lot less permanent, like the feel to it, which I think is a good thing because it allows you to experiment. It makes you more willing to go in and change things and improve it if you need to, because you don't feel so locked in.
Right. So like this has about 500 different resources that you can build with CloudFormation, and it lists out these things I call stack paths, because it's kind of like a path or a resource path. It's like used to be stack path. It's a resource path. It's give me the path, give me the category. Then within the category, give me the service name, and then within the service name, give me the resource name. And you can pipe it over to grep and kind of chew down the things that you can copy and paste. So let's say you want to do that. You can import that. I think in the demo I mentioned S3, so we'll just stick with that. So first thing we need to do, we need to make an app. So let's make, I made a folder called infra. Could have named it app, but we'll go ahead and do CDK init app language equals TypeScript. Get a little hello world app going in CDK.
So the CDK init kind of initializes the project, kind of puts some temporary files and folders in there, I guess, though, to kind of get a start.
Yep. For all those people who haven't seen this yet, in the bin, you have basically your application where you define stacks, and you could have like as many stacks in this application as you want. And the little word you see here, if you do CDK ls, so you got your CDK ls to list the stacks that are in your app, and then you got CRPM ls to list all the different possible resources you could import into the stack. So we're working with InfraStack here for the time being, and that corresponds to this library file. And then it has a place where we can start putting stuff. So I always like to make sure my things are installed. You never know when they aren't. And another thing that's always cool to do, we'll show you the advanced way of doing things. And instead of just seeding into a new terminal, it's nice to just right-click there. You can get this going here. You can split it into 2 columns. Of course, if you're on a screen not doing a demo, it would fit a lot better, so maybe we'll just keep it in one. but they all seem to have this npm run watch. You get the watch compile going, and then you set it and forget it, and you just forget you ever opened that. So now we're running the npm run build. So yeah, we got all this d.ts and js files all over the place littered around. Of course, the git ignore file is not going to end up pushing that junk up into your repo when it comes time to commit and push it, but we're good there. So next up, did I copy and paste that? I forget. I'll just copy and paste it again.
Yeah. So we have to, we're going to do the CRPM import command, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you can import it as is, and it'll go in just like that, or we could use a -r rename field, and the -r would allow us to specify, because what it's going to do is it's going to create a folder called res, which res stands for resources, and it's going to put this file in res storage s3 bucket props.yaml. But let's say you had like multiple buckets. You might have one for artifacts and one for caching this or that. And so we could go ahead and reuse storage s3 bucket multiple times, and each time use the -r flag to kind of rename it like bucket. I like to leave the resource name in the beginning and then put my little identifier on the right side. So I'll do like bucket -artifacts and bucket -this and bucket -that.
Hey Bill, sorry to interrupt you for just a sec. We got a couple folks who have joined into the chat, and they're wondering what are we talking about? Do you mind just giving a quick update? Like, what is CRPM?
So, CRPM. Let's see what happened here.
Oh, sorry. Well, he's debugging that.
No, he's troubleshooting. We can talk while Bill is trying to troubleshoot. So CRPM is basically Cloud Resource Property Manager. Think of it as you have your AWS CDK, right? Which is we talked about AWS CDK, which is an open source software development framework, for building your infrastructure as code and whatnot. So this is sits on top of the CDK to basically help through that whole process. Think of it as a CDK helper, So. If you go back to the beginning of the presentation, we give you a complete overview of what CRPM does and all that. What are the questions you have, Tace, that I can help Bill is troubleshooting?
Well, you know what happened was it ran out of disk space on Cloud9. So what I have to do is increase the volume. And I'm just going to do it in case people want to see it. But
no, that's great. Yeah.
I'm going to switch over to another one that's already running. That's fine. So let's see which was the one here. It was Hello World. That's one of the things about Cloud9 is sometimes it comes with a little bit too little space, and when you're doing npm installs and stuff, it can kind of hog up all the space real fast. So let's see here.
Yeah, actually, even in our EKS workshop, Bill, we recommend that the default size of the Cloud9 environment needs to be increased. We recommend at least 30 gigs, I guess, but you can, I would put that at 16 or 30, whatever. Definitely more than 10 for sure.
Yeah, Alex in chat actually just looks like came over here from a Node.js course, and so anytime you get into Node, you'll see that sometimes that npm install can be heavy. It's all of the dependencies can just build and build on top of each other, and so. Cloud9's great, but no, I think it's great that we actually ran into this, because this could be a gotcha that people run into from time to time. Is sometimes Cloud9 runs out of space and you just gotta pump it up a little bit.
Yeah. So right now what we're gonna cut over to another Cloud9 that we have preceded. That one's also small. Let me get them both getting big in case the other one has a problem too. I don't think it will because it's set up and ready to go, but just in case, let's go and get it fired up as well, because this takes about 10 minutes for this to happen. Let's go back. And
so Bill, So I love containers, microservices, and things of that nature. So hopefully, I'm hoping that you're going to show us some complex stuff with the CRPM and maybe like Kubernetes, like EKS or something like that. Is that something that you can do
Yeah,
after you're done? Okay,
definitely
cool.
is. In fact, we'll go to that. We'll move over to that while we let these things upgrade. So yeah, just so you know, we're going to get back to this hello world example. We definitely will come back to that. I'm going to go and shut that guy down for now. And he's just going to wait. And then when we see the volume is done modifying, we'll go and open it up again. Okay. Hello world. Action. Oh, instance state. Stop instance. When he comes up, he's going to come up a bigger man. Right now, he's a little boy.
It's time to grow up.
All right. So closing that down, closing the volumes down. And I like this window. This is my happy window, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So one thing that we did before coming on this call, if anyone's ever spun up an EKS cluster before, it's about a 20-minute wait. So we didn't want to put you all through that. So what we did was we kind of followed the instructions here. We cloned. Anyone wants to get this right now and follow along, have infrastructure code over at github.com/. Actually, it's at SHI as well, but it's probably on my account too. But we'll just change that for now. And we CD'd into the directory after grabbing it, and then we went ahead and we deployed a role. And in Kubernetes on AWS, when you create a cluster with a role, that same role that created it is also the role that you have to use or you have to assume if you want to go and interact with it. So like usually you'll install kubectl, kubectl, whatever you want to call it, and then once you get it installed, whether it's on your local machine or whether you want to put it inside of a Cloud9, you're going to need to use a role. And you can go ahead and manually edit the role if you wanted to. We made a little stack here in the CDK application. It deploys just a role, and it passes in the current user as a parameter. And so you fire that up, and now when that stack pops out of the oven, you got a role. And then CDK allows you to pass in a -r flag. So after you go ahead and deploy the role, you go ahead and deploy the EKS cluster, which has a whole bunch of goodies too. I'll show you that in a bit. And you go ahead and pass in the role ARN that was created in the first step that's in the outputs of it. And then you have a cluster that we can start adding more stacks to layer stuff on top of. Like we'll go into the next part. We'll get that kicked off now, CI/CD. So what we're going to build here is we're going to build a cluster. And then we're going to basically build a CI/CD stack that watches two things. It's going to watch the stack to create the cluster, the EKS stack, but it's also going to be like a chicken and the egg scenario where it's going to watch itself. So it's going to watch the CI/CD stack that created it. And that way, if we change any of the code here, if the code happens to be something that's used by the EKS stack, it's going to modify EKS. And if it happens to be something in the CI/CD stack involving with code pipeline or code build, any of those, you want to upgrade your code build server size, stuff like that, then it'll go and do that. And they run kind of like, we'll show you the screen, but they run kind of like in parallel. So yeah, let's get the CI/CD fired up.
Nice.
And then I forgot I got to CD into it.
Yeah, you're going to be in the right direction.
It's funny that the other day I was just building like just a little sample app, just a React app, and I did the little create React app, you know, the little script that just like gives you all your folders and everything, and I was like npm start. I just kept getting this error over and over again, and I was like, it was driving me crazy. Like I uninstalled everything. I, for the life of me, could not get this app to work, and then I realized that I had not CD'd into the project folder. So,
you need that extra pair of eyes sometimes. Like somebody else will see and be like, "What are you doing? You're in the wrong folder, buddy."
Yeah, it's always good to have a good sanity checker near you. So,
we got this one guy that's super meticulous I work with named Pasha. And whenever he ends up or whenever I have a problem like that, I go to him and he looks at my screen real carefully. He's like, "That's your problem." I'm like, "Oh, you figured it out, man. I've been wasting all this time. It's so easy. I knew it was gonna be easy, but I didn't know which easy it was."
There's
So
I got to
right
address a
now,
comment in chat. The app that I made after I created the React app, I then decided I needed to host it in S3, and I did that using AWS Amplify CLI. So shout out to you in the chat for. Yeah, so had to address that. There was some Amplify that came in there, but we're not doing that today. We're not doing that today at all.
nope. So let's kind of go over what would these import statements end up doing to you. So this is a project here for an EKS cluster that has had a lot of imports done. Pretty much when we did that import S3 bucket statement that failed because it used up all my space in my drive when I was trying to install npm. We were just trying to create one of these subfolders with that command. So I imported like compute EC2 EIP-NAT. I imported Internet Gateway. I imported NAT Gateway. I imported a heck of a lot of things here, and like you got your VPC file, and every single one of these folders just has that props file to start out with. But these folders are a great place to stick peripheral stuff. So like if you have a Lambda function and you're importing that, you can stick your Lambda code in there. So like sometimes you find different things you want to you don't know where to put them. You're like, I got this extra YAML file and I don't know where to stick it. I'll just stick it in the same folder with the thing that goes with it. So it's nice, it's a place where you can put things that's scalable. But let's say that you want to come in here and take a look at your cluster itself.
Yeah, I want to know like where is all my properties file, right? So that's the props.yaml file. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got one thing popped out of the oven. So let's go get a little page ready for that. Let's go into code pipeline. The pipeline should be in progress now. So we just CDK deployed this pipeline that we're looking at here, and I'll kind of scroll down to show you what we did. It watches code commit, and it builds in the following manner. It basically synthesizes CloudFormation templates and tests them with the validation tool. And then it comes down and it does replace change set on the actual EKS stack, and it does the same thing on the CI/CD stack, hence the suffix CI/CD here. And then it comes down, lets you do a manual approval so you can kind of check things out before sending it through. And then after that, it does the execute change sets for both of those in parallel. So now we get that. We'll head back to here again. Shut that down. So back into here. Actually, let's get another thing kicked off. Let's get the ID fired up while we talk.
So yeah.
So next, what we're going to do now...
Oh, go ahead. No, you keep going.
So in order to kind of like make your life easier, getting kubectl installed can be a little bit problematic sometimes. So we go ahead and we fire up a Cloud9 and we use SSM scripts to kind of provision it, because in the CloudFormation you can't really provision Cloud9. You can just spin one up and you can tell it if you want to put a repo in there. But you can actually attach an instance profile to them that gives them SSM capabilities, and then you can trigger off like a remote execution, and you can pretty much at that point just do whatever you want to it. So we go in there, do what we want to. We install kubectl, we get it all set up, ready to use, and check out the code that you can use to kind of change yourself with. So we'll get that fired up. Now we can go back to talking about this. Let me see also about the pipeline. Yeah, we're waiting for approval. So we didn't do anything the first time you create a code pipeline. It runs through the pipeline. So it's going to run through the pipeline and do nothing. So I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Go ahead and do nothing.
Sounds like a secure. Sounds pretty secure.
Yep. So let's say you're inside this props file in EKS cluster. You're looking around, and I really like these files because, I love YAML. I love just configuring things in YAML. I like the fact that I can change the name right here from EKS demo to something else. I can change the version to 1.18. So let's say that we're on 1.18 actually in production in AWS. They just released it. So this is actually old code already. So if we wanted to, we could change that to 1.18, git add, git commit, git push, and then it'll go ahead and upgrade the cluster. And tell them about that, like Raj. What happens when you upgrade the cluster? Your apps stick around?
Wow. Okay. So that is going to be, yeah, absolutely. The apps, the way I have done it before, Bill, manually, it's kind of a pain in the back, right? This way, putting it through CRPM, right? I mean, the huge benefit that I saw was like when you change it from 1.17 to 1.18, which is our latest release, and if you already have application pods that are running, the pods will automatically transition to the new nodes. Actually, it will install the new nodes of 1.18. Let's say you had 2 or 3 nodes, whatever that is, and then it will transition all the pods into the new nodes and disable the scheduling on the 1.17 node and actually drain them out and take them out of the cluster. So hoping that we'll have time that you can at least show a little bit of that, Bill. So I'm looking forward to that because that's a great way of doing this blue-green deployment that a lot of people quite honestly, if you have to do it the manual way, it is a little bit painful, you know.
So I'm thinking one thing we could do here, I spun up a cluster with small instances to start out with, which they can get expensive, so you kind of start out with a small size. So that's what we got running right now. And let's go ahead and boost them up. Now tell them all what happens when you change the instance types. Does the app stay up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the nice thing is you're changing from a T3 small to a T3 medium. So your apps will go from the T3 small nodes to the T3 medium nodes, and then you're defining all the desired size, max size, and the min size for your node group right there, right? And then depending on whether you increase or decrease that parameter, all the apps move to the T3 medium, and then the T3 smalls get shut down. So if you already have a cluster up and running, Bill, let's look at that one and see what are they showing right now.
So that IDE stack that I fired up, the last thing I did, CDK deploy IDE, this is the IDE it created, EKS IDE. And this will give us our kubectl command so we can go ahead and play around with that. So I'm just pulling that up. And also the pipeline, it's already primed for us to use it now. It's run all the way through, doing absolutely nothing. Also fired up Hello World. Let's see if this guy's happy now. Now we got 6 gigs available instead of 0. That's a happy sight.
Good.
So
That's good.
We'll come back to this in a bit. So over here, one of the things you have to do is every time you get in the Cloud9, it uses a proxy role, I like to call it. And so we come into here in your preferences, scroll down into AWS settings, and turn off the credential and manage temporary credentials. That way we're like just basically using this as the role of the person who created it, which is me. So whatever I could do in the console, I can do through the command line through here. All right, so I like to close those down, get rid of this garbage. Got a nice thing, just how I like it here. We got our code, and our code is this right here is actually checked out from code commit, all ready to go. If you remember when we were in this Twitch thing, I created this Twitch Cloud9 just for this thing, and I basically grabbed the code from GitHub from my mscribe user, but I mean it has an SHI user as well. But now, when we actually spun up this the CI/CD stack, it went and it cloned from GitHub the repo we had in GitHub publicly and pulled it in the code commit. So now we have our private thing that if we edit it, it'll actually make changes. So up to this point, we're just looking at these files. They're not going to do anything if we change them. In fact, we're pretty much done with this thing. So in the EKS IDE that has the code that's actually checked out from code commit now, coming back in here again. Let's say we came down to EKS. We went into node group. And I like this because if you were just having a CDK app and all you did is had all your code inside of here, it's going to look very magical. You can make things very succinct, very magical. They do a lot of things behind the background. But in the same way, let's say you're getting new versions because it's always asking you to upgrade. It might do new magical things on you. And so by saying, okay, you know what, I don't want the auto magic to happen. I want to basically just define every single property and have it exactly how I want it. There's going to be no surprises, so that when you go ahead and you trigger a change, you know that only the things you asked for are going to change, because you're not changing some very abstract small piece of code that's creating lots of things from it. You're actually getting this. And the stack that we're looking at here, this is what like a CDK app would look like. And this would actually be a good time to segue back into Hello World. So let's see, what exactly is CRPMI doing? Let's go back to this. We got this file again. Just pop them open again. All right, so back where we left off last time, where we need to CD into the folder first, that'd be good. All right, now that our little boy has grown into a man, he's got space to install things. Let's close some of these folders just so you can see the res folder appear eventually.
So while it's installing, one thing that comes to mind, and I'd like to know your opinion if I'm thinking about this in the right mindset or not, but this feels a little bit like, honestly, like when you're just building a node-based app and you just do like an npm install and you just, you install a module and it like, or parts of a module. Is that kind of a way to think about this? But instead of like a node module, you're installing a piece of cloud, a cloud resource.
Yeah, it's like a little building block of the cloud. Like right now, we know we need a bucket, so we have an empty app, and we want to. And all the app really is something that renders a stack. So we have an empty stack. It extends cdk.stack right up here. So, All right, we got nothing in our stack. Let's start importing things into our stack. First, we're going to start out with the storage S3 bucket. We could add on an instance. Instances always seem to want to have instance profiles associated with them, and those usually have roles attached. Then you got security groups that are handy to put in. So you're looking at least 4 things when you create an instance.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a Lego block, right, Bull? I mean, if you have to look at it and kind of put your whatever you're trying to build, right? Whether you're trying to put this Lego blocks of Star Wars together, or so you kind of bring the S3 bucket block. I mean, instance
Did you guys
block.
see that? Did you see how that code just appeared there magically?
Boom.
So, it basically just had the word super scope, and it said the code that defined your stack goes here, and then boom. That's what it does. So the import does 2 things. It creates this res folder on the left-hand side, and puts in this props file that we could have here. And then it opens up your stack file, and it goes ahead and inserts at the bottom. It kind of appends to the bottom of this constructor these 2 statements. One is basically setting your properties value that comes and loads from that file that it just created, and then the other is it creates your object that you can do stuff with. So like if you wanted to, you could actually just Bucky props.
Yeah, sounds like
you could
Bucky's.
You could do stuff in here. You don't have to, like you could basically still do the whole CDK paradigm of just doing things in code if you want to, and this would be something you could do if you wanted to like kick off some kind of API call and do some kind of dynamic variable pulling. But this right here is where I would basically just use this opportunity to stitch together these different resources so that you're not really putting any of your definitions in this file. I would just use CDK code to simply glue things together, shove all your logic that used to be in CloudFormation templates in the CDK, but keep all those little properties like 1.17 and node groups in the other spot. And so we could do this. Hopefully that name's not taken yet. And then come in here, and I think...
It looks pretty random to me, Bill.
I don't know.
Somebody on this Twitch
I,
session might be making a bucket with it right now.
I've made a lot of junk buckets, so who knows?
He might crisscross you on that one.
So in this example, I said change access control to private. So if you wanted to follow along with that, you can pop in here, look for access control. It's right there. It's an optional field, so you can do control / and uncomment that. Control V, save that file. We also did a little change here, and then we could CDK sent this thing.
Yeah.
We could do CDK deploy and deploy the bucket with that name. When you do CDK sent, it creates a CDK.out, and you'll actually be able to see your template. So we can come down to the template, and let's see, where's the S3 thing in here?
Imagine if you have to write all those CloudFormation templates. Man, this makes my life a lot easier. And with CRPM, you're going to make my life even more easier because it's even more less things to code, because I'm going to bring those blocks. I'm going to import all my components, whether I'm doing EKS, ECS, or whatever I'm building, right? And it's easy to just import those modules and kind of construct my whole application out. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and like now that I have all those things in my VPC and the EKS set up with all the subnets and that, I have different ways that I kind of just know how to use because I'm familiar with them. And at my company, we have like a bunch of different people that build solutions for clients, and so they can just grab little pieces. And the more solutions we make for clients, the more knowledge we have to share with each other, building out repos with these things where they're easy to just kind of grab a subset of the folders and pull them over. So I had to do npm run build there. That's why I was like, how come I don't see S3 in the template I synthesized? And it was like, oh yeah, I forgot to build it.
Yeah.
So now if we come in here, we got a bucket. We had that crazy name for the bucket name that we actually just overrode the property in the code, and then we have the property that we created in the property file. So it kind of like the workflow that I see for this is it's definitely built for like a project that's going to have a lifespan to it, not something you're just going to do real fast. Because if you just need to spin something up fast, just use CDK. It's great. You just be able to spin something up in a second. But if you're going to try to like build something that's going to be managed by a team where the team members are going to change over time, and you're going to have just a maintenance nightmare, and you want to just get in front of the technical debt ahead of time, you can start building out a real huge complex solution in the cloud, breaking it apart into small manageable pieces of properties files, these bite-sized properties files that you can kind of manage and share. And if you're going to copy and paste, why copy and paste a big CDK piece of code when you can copy and paste like a sub piece that it's a lot easier to manage and share. So this is the hello world example of how you got a statement where these two-liners are there, and it will close that down and come back. And we could have done, instead of CDK sent, we could have done CDK deploy and deployed that actually into my CloudFormation thing like we did over here when we CDK deployed the EKS and the role and all that. But I'm not going to deploy the bucket there. So if anyone took that name and they were hoping to get me to have a failure, you're not going to succeed. It's not going to happen. So now opening up the CKS stack, we can say, oh, that looks familiar. You can tell that a code cleaner upper decided to go in basically, this isn't a one-line statement anymore. It's 3 lines right here. But yeah, you can see how I CRPM import VPC, drops my 2 lines in, import the gateway. Come down here, I start kind of gluing things, stitching things together, but this is all like dynamic, nothing really static, because I like to define all the static values in the files themselves. So if I ever, let's get a change kicked off now while we keep talking about that. So come over to the cluster, come down to the bottom. Right now, if we were to go into the IDE, let's see, where do we put him? I think we shut him accidentally. Should have shut the Twitch. All right, EKS ID. Did not mean to close you down. You're still loved. Oh, you were hiding back there. I have this thing on my screen that says sharing your screen, and so he hides behind it. He's like, camouflaged. Oh yeah. Okay. So I see where I'm at. So now let's go take a look at kubectl.
Hey Bill,
Now you can type that out if you like to.
before we go into that, we do have a question in chat, and so like where within this structure are you storing environment variables that you may need access to?
Okay. So sometimes you want to basically open up the cdk.json file, and in this context area here, you can start putting commas, and you can put things here. So that's a very common place that you can kind of like store things. Because back in the old day, I used to make like a .env file, and then in my code at the top of the file, I would basically do a little npm install or like an import statement that would give me some way to be able to read from the .env file and load it. And then I would use the values in there. But then I realized the way that they're moving CDK was to use the context here. So you can precede the stuff in cdk.json. This saves with, it's not in the get ignore, so it's going to go up into there when you push it. So you can do stuff that way, but you also sometimes will just pass them in as parameters.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do -- parameter, and you can put the name value pair, and you can do as many of those as you want when you actually do a CDK deploy. So if it's super dynamic and there's no point of putting it into like the cdk.json file, then you do it that way, like if you're going to be doing multiple times. But if it's never going to change per set of like code commit code, then I would say put it in the context in this file.
Got it.
Make sure I don't save that in there.
And one other question about just, I guess more the CDK generally. When if you have like multiple environments, so you've got like your dev, test, and prod environments, how's that handled by the CDK?
So if you have multiple environments, one thing you can do when you can deploy to different regions. And so, or you can use like US East 1 and deploy to that, and then you can switch over and deploy to another one using when you configure a AWS CLI command and you put in your region there, it goes by that. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of like, you actually, it's set up so that you can quickly switch from your different AWS configurations, because you might have one AWS CLI configuration file for US East 1 you might call East, and then you might have one for US West 2 that you call West because you just use the East or the West of those two varieties. And then when you want to fire it off, you can pass in the name of the file or the name of the configuration that you want to use from AWS CLI.
Okay, cool.
So you could be in the Cloud9 on US East 2 like I am and be firing off stuff for other regions. So I got this saved here where I changed the sizes and boost this up. We do the kube control get node. You can see we got two things running, which was our previous desired size of 2. Now we're going to go ahead and get status this. You can see my changes basically. I guess I put a comma there. I'll take it out. That's why I like doing git diff. It's nice to do a little check before you do it. So we're going to boost that up to 3. I thought I heard somebody.
You're also changing the nodes from 1.17 to 1.18, right, Paul?
So we could do that, but if we do that, that takes a long time. So this would be a pretty quick thing, but if we do that, we're looking at another 20-minute wait.
No problem. Yeah, let's do the quick one so that way we're not having folks waiting. But yeah, that's something we can, talk them through it.
But if someone did want to do it, it would be just as easy as just going into that file and just changing the 7 to an 8. Is that all they'd have to do?
Yeah, they would go in here, and they could do it all in the same push too. Like they could have done it right now with us, change that to 1.18, and then when we trigger this thing, we could trigger it to do all that at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like this because once we get this cluster running now, in theory, this cluster we just built can live for years. we can upgrade it easy for years. We could tell an operations guy, hey, make sure we get the latest thing. Like put a to-do item for him every 3 months to go and make sure it's upgraded to the latest server. And then we can track, because this is going to be in Git and will be easy to track from the diffs and see who made the commits over time to see which guy did it. And if you tell the operations guy, go ahead and these things don't fit anymore, we can't get enough pods to fit in our nodes, you can go over to the node group and say, all right, go up and change the size. We need instead of T3 smalls, we need to upgrade to mediums, and maybe we'll try larges after that. And the whole time, like when you commit this, it could do all that stuff at the same time. It could change these small to mediums or larges. It could do the changing of the sizes right here. It could change this thing to 1.18. All that can pretty much happen at the same time. And we could even go into like our pipeline code itself. Like we go into code build server, you'd open that up. We could find the build general one small. We could change it to a medium. If we didn't know which value to put in there, we could copy the link and put it in there and see what our different options are to put in this spot. But it's nice. I like it because once I get it going, I know that it's going to be real stable. I can just grow with this setup that I have now for years and change it, not delete it and rebuild it again. Because I'm not really into just rebuilding stuff nonstop. I like to just keep it going. I like to get the old car and just keep it running, you know?
Right.
That's the way to do it.
You're talking to the right person. I'm still driving my 2003 Tacoma. And
Nice.
no signs of slowing down on that one.
So I got you beat, man. I'm driving a 2001.
Oh, man. Oh, man, he's got me beat.
See, you want a guy like me that thinks about how to have a car that's from 2001. How do I have an EKS cluster from 2001 that's still running today? It's going to take a little bit of thought to figure that one out.
Alex Smasher says that he's got a 2006 S60 Volvo. Nice. Volvos are the best, man. I tell you, those things run.
So before I click approve when this thing gets done creating this change sets, one of them is going to be a dud, so we didn't make any changes to like the build server size. So CSID is going to be like a blank, you could call it. And this is actually going to have a real change here if we click yes. But you click on this little commit ID, and just like I did in my git diff, you can kind of just come down and see the sizes really easy. So I like clicking on that because it tells me what's changing in this environment before I do my human approval. And if you ever get worried about something, you can always look it up in the documentation. Certain things, almost everything you find has no replacement when it comes to like CloudFormation. You got to look out for replacement. If you see something that has a property value of the word replacement, you're like, oh shoot, if I change that value, it's going to replace that object. It's not going to update it, and anything I had on there is going bye-bye. So a lot of the things you do it, and it's fine. It doesn't require a replacement. But if you're worried, then you can go in and check it. If you see a new thing changing you haven't changed in the past, and you're wondering if it's going to require a replacement of the whole resource, you can go and check that out. But yeah, this stuff.
Yeah, before you go ahead and commit the change, right, can you show us on your IDE, on the kubectl commands, what do you have currently running? And so that way we can explain to the audience what we are actually changing. So let's do a kubectl get nodes, I guess.
Yeah, we basically have
you got
we
the
had the
K
size.
command like myself. What is K?
I put that alias in for you, man. I know you like it.
Oh man, less typing.
Remember, it's the lyrics of a song. I can't get no satisfaction. So
we'll get you started on that one. We'll do the karaoke next time, bro.
Yeah. So if you like to give your fingers a workout and burn calories, you're wearing your Fitbit and you just need to you're wearing your Oura ring, you got to make sure that you get every calorie. Then type away. But if you're a lazy boy, okay, get no. Yeah. So when we approve it, instead of having the desired size 2, we'll have 3 things here because we're desiring 3 instead of 2. So let's go and approve that.
Okay.
And you could set up an SNS notification too on that, so that you don't have to like watch this page. You could just wait around and then get a ding on your cell phone telling you, oh, I got something to approve. It's time to go in and approve it.
Nice.
Because the same person that approves it might be, or it might be a different person than the person that actually does the change. So it'd be nice for a manager to be able to just walk around Planet Earth with the phone and then one day get a ding like, oh, I got to approve something. Let me go in there and look at the git diff, make sure that all those values aren't going to replace my whole cluster and are just going to modify it, and then go ahead and approve. So while that's doing that, come back into here. And
yeah, so if you want to do a kubectl get nodes and put a -w at the very end, though, let's watch this sucker to see if he's actually adding a node.
You know me, I do like the watch command.
Oh yeah, it comes in very handy. You know, -w.
Doing npm run watch the other day.
Yeah.
Yep. So probably if I was managing this cluster right now, the first thing I would do, would be go and upgrade this to 1.18, like you're saying. Run it 20 minutes later. That would be good. I'll be in the latest and greatest. Then I would shut that file down. I'd come back into this file that we're in here. Probably boost that up to like a medium or large, because those small instances can't fit a lot of pods on them. You know, you fire up GitLab, it won't even fit in a T3 small. So then you got these things. You know what? You might want to leave desired size at 2 if you're a cheapskate. Min size 1, and then put max size at 10 or something. You know, like, hey, you can use it if you can use it, buddy, but otherwise don't
Give
use
it some room. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have the horizontal pod autoscaler. It will scale within the nodes, but then if you want to, you know, if you have the autoscaling group up to 10, you know, hey, look at that. We got a new node, looks like, Bill.
Cool.
Yeah, Bill, that's kind of my approach to...
It's alive!
What you were talking about, the scaling, that's kind of my approach to buying pants. Just buy a few size earlier so you have room. You don't have to use the space, but, you know, if you've been sitting at home for the past 8 months, you just, you know, it's nice to know you have it. Have that extra waist room in the pants.
I'll tell you what I really like about AWS is just how much stuff they have available for you to use if you want to use it. Like, I was reading online that you could request to get 20,000 concurrent lambdas because somebody online has managed to get that request approved. So the sky's the limit, really. If you can get 20,000 concurrent lambdas, imagine like spinning something up in parallel, firing up 20,000 computers, having them all do something for like half a second, and gluing the result back together again. I mean, that's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, I wonder what they're
That's
using.
one of the things I want to do. I want to get the 20,000 lambda limit.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather spend a lot of money to run a lot of things for like 1 second than spend a lot of money to run one thing for a lot of seconds.
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's go ahead and hit Control-C and then take the watch command off. Looks like our node is already up and running for 41 seconds. So let's...
And we got 3 now.
Yeah, there we go. You're looking good.
And if you wanted, you could kind of see just how the cluster looks.
Yeah,
We
let's go
keep
to
talking
the
about this
EKS.
cluster. Over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this demo right here. And then our nice little warning here about the new version available, 1.18, that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You certainly could update here if you wanted to. Like, it's not going to really screw anything up if you have 1.17 made in CloudFormation and you want to take it from there and go commando on it. But I don't recommend that, because if you really want to be able to see how things got from point A to point B, it's really nice that git diff that we got to see when we clicked on the commit ID and it showed us all those things in a pretty color coding. And if we go into code commit where this code is, we'll be able to just kind of go through the history of it all in a very easy way to understand. And if you do everything that way, then all your stuff's going to be documented in a way you can figure it out. But if you do like half of it in here and half of it in there, then it gets a little bit dicey. And I would say you don't want to be like really strict about it. Like if you have an emergency situation, by all means go in the console and solve your emergency. But if you can, like, only do that in an emergency situation, because once you get in the habit of doing things in the console, you don't have anything to show for yourself. Like, you can't repeat what you did. It's really hard to automate clicking through screens. So if you have a guy sitting around building stuff in screens for 5 hours, it's like he just built that, but now he doesn't have anything to show for himself, because what if they want that in another account, or they want that in another region? He's got to click around in that account too. So now anything he did here, he clicked the update here, he's going to have to go click update everywhere else. So that's
actually,
my thought on that.
On that note, for
Hey,
somebody,
Mhm.
so for somebody who
No, go ahead,
like
go ahead.
already has maybe an application built out and they did it exactly the way that you just described, just going through the console, clicking, and not very repeatable. Let's say that they're watching this video now. Like, what would you recommend for next steps for them? Like, how would you go from that like super manual stuff to be able to do this repeatable type work?
One thing I would tinker around with, that I haven't done this yet, but I would first think of doing this if I was going to do it. I saw on CloudFormation that you can actually create a CloudFormation stack from existing resources. So I would look into trying to build a stack with the stuff that you already made. And then once you get the stack, trying to manage that somehow. But otherwise, I would start kind of just taking new things that you add into your cloud architecture over time and launch those from these kind of setups. And so you could get really organized where you could have a lot of repos. Like you could have a repo that you create a VPC in and your subnets, and you call that networking, and you give it access to just the networking people in your organization. And you could have another one that would be just for security, and it could have like IAM stuff in it, security group stuff in it. And then something AWS doesn't offer, but you could just, at your company using ServiceNow or something, you could build a request system so that you could say, oh, I need a new subnet, and the request goes over to the networking team, and now they get it, and they approve it, and they go and add it in the stack so that the IP or the CIDR is available for you.
Yeah.
Or you need to get access from a security standpoint, so you go to them. And that way you can really have a big enterprise that has different silos, and you'd have one repo for each app, of course, maybe multiples, and those people would be using exported stuff from stacks that was created in a networking environment. And you'd have multiple CI/CD pipelines for that too. You'd have one CI/CD for networking, one CI/CD for security, and then a CI/CD thing for each app. And I would say two for each app, actually. You'd have one CI/CD piece for the app CI/CD, and then one CI/CD piece for the infrastructure CI/CD. So you have actually two CI/CD pipelines for each application, so you could kind of change things about your CI/CD in one way, and you could change things about the app. When you release new app code, it goes and builds the app and redoes the kubectl apply a command or something. So that's
Cool.
I don't know if that really answered it, but
Oh, nope, he said
I
nailed
would
it.
definitely.
Or sorry, Alex
Yeah.
said nailed it. I actually don't. That was assumptive to say he. But yeah, Alex nailed it.
I always like to say that all this stuff is great to just start where you are. Like, keep everything you built and just start building new stuff with this, and manage the old stuff the old way, and then the new stuff the new way, and eventually you'll find a reason to refactor and just standardize. But you can't get there. It takes years to get there, then it takes years to get there. So now, yeah, but that's pretty much all the stuff I'm going to do now. I mean, while we're talking, I might as well do that thing we talked about so much, even though I don't know if we'll get to see it come to fruition by the time this is over. But let's go boost him up.
Yeah, the nice thing about here is it's so modular, right? And we are able to take these modules and plug them in and make those modifications quite easily. So, for example, I don't need to know too much about CDK, even like, where I can just go into these prop files and start making those edits on the key parameters, like version numbers and things like that. So this is a great way to. Bill, you brought up this architecture diagram, so I'm curious, what is it?
Well, you got me thinking about one thing, which was what would be the flow of how to get something built. And I think you start with an architect, the guy that makes these diagrams. And so he basically gets the business requirements and comes up with this pretty picture right here. And this is a diagram with a cluster that we built. So you could kind of see we have the 2 subnets. There's 2 different availability zones. We have an auto-scaling group here and a private IP space. Then we got the ELB and the public IP space that points back to these guys under the hood here. And you could actually really easily extend this to a blue-green deployment, where you could basically have another row, another auto-scaling group of servers sitting behind, and have production ELB pointing to the top guys, and then have the next guys coming up behind them, and then flip it over when you get it tested or whatever you want to do. You could even do a canary kind of thing where you send over some of the users to the new set. But I think that architects should come up with a diagram, and then he hands it over to the developer, or sometimes the developer and architect is the same person. And then he would come in after devising this, and he would start doing all those CRPM import statements. So he would create the stack and you could have an existing CDK app too, and just start CRPM importing into it, and appending it to the bottom of that constructor. But if you want, you could basically create your new app, in this case CDK or EKS CI/CD, and once you get your new app, you could go ahead and start firing off tons of import commands for each one of the things you see in that picture, that diagram, and just build it out real fast, assign all the properties, and have this code stitched together. And then now that you've got it stitched together, you can kind of say this file is set and forget it. We got all our logic in here now, or stitching together logic. And that's the IDE, but the EKS, same thing. All that logic stitched together. And if we run npm run build and npm install, we wouldn't get the error thing. But if you have all this set up like that, then that's all done. You had part A, architect, part B, developer. Part C is maintenance, and maintenance could be the same 2 guys in the beginning if you wanted to, but you could probably get away with just letting them go off and do other things that are more important, and finding lower paid people or operations guys or whatever to go in here and maintain this going forward, and just tell them, hey, we have a problem in our logs, in CloudWatch logs. We have or in kubectl, we use that command to look at the logs, and we see, hey, we're not getting all of our app installed. It needs 25 pods, and only 20 of them are able to spin up. Can you go in and increase the size so we can fit them? And then they can kind of come in here and be like, where is that? How did I do that in here? And they might look in here. They might look in here and look around. And then they'll open up this and they'll be like, it's under compute in the console menu. Oh yeah, EKS, here we go. Cluster, maybe it's in there. They look in here and be like, nope, it's not in here. What about this one? Oh yeah, I see it. So that's how people really work in real life. Or maybe they would search, they would just grep through it all, they search, but it gives them a fighting chance. They could actually keep this thing going, put up a good fight, keep the technical debt at bay. And you could have lots of stuff. You could have multiple clusters. You could have EKS cluster -A, cluster -B if you use the -R flag when you do the import. You could just go hog wild. Heck, you could do old-fashioned way. You could just make a bunch of instances in here, instance-bastion, instance-web A, web B, web C, and you could just start building a mess. But you can build it in a way where you can kind of still have this organized chaos, rather than just jam it into these big files that are mysterious. They have all the logic and properties and everything in one place. So, awesome. Yeah, that's my spiel. Now that I built this tool for me so I could take over the world. No, not really, but that's how I can take over the world. But so I could do other
Hey,
stuff
so
with it.
Bill, a question for you. So if we have to build an app, so it's great that we have infrastructure as a code. You pushed it through a CI/CD process. You showed us all this cool stuff. As a next step, I was thinking, can we build app? Let's say I want to deploy some apps using CRPM. Is that something that I can easily do here?
Yeah, we've been
And
tinkering
maybe as
around
a
with that.
next, yeah, I'm thinking maybe as a next step. I mean, as a next Twitch session or something like that, maybe we can show the world how to do that, because that's something. Or I don't know if you have one already built. If you can show us, that'll be great too.
We do. Do we have time for that, Taz? Or
Oh yeah, we got time.
okay.
We got about 40 minutes if
Yeah,
y'all
let's.
want to stick around.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so we could play around with that. I'm gonna go into the pipeline. We're definitely gonna get to see the cluster get upgraded now that you mention that. So I'm gonna, yeah, come in the pipeline. Come over here. Everybody wants to be approved. Come down, check the commit, just to kind of be in the habit of doing that. And we see we're gonna go to 1.18.
Wow,
Looks good.
That's going to be amazing. Actually, before you hit the approve button, before you approve, Bill, let's deploy an app, maybe an Nginx app or something like that, and see if it actually moves through that with the node, you know?
I guess we could even just deploy the app we were talking about. Yeah, so we happen. Do you want to just do Nginx?
Yeah, we can just do a simple Nginx if you want to. If you don't want to complicate things too much, you know, we can keep it simple. You can just say kubectl run, call it as my Nginx, and then give the image name kubectl run my Nginx. Yeah.
What is it? Nginx.
Yeah, Nginx. Yeah. Space -- image equals Nginx : latest, and then yeah, and that'll spin up a file. That's fine. Don't worry about the deprecation. So the deployment has been created. kubectl get PO, and that's it. It's running. So, and when you move, so go back to your command line for a second. And type in kubectl get PO -o wide. And you can see that it's running on that IP address 109.158, I guess. So this guy will move over to the new node, whatever you're going to be deploying on 1.18. So it'll actually move that application to the 1.18. Of course, it'll take a little bit of time. We may not have all the time today, but at least we can start the process, and that will move the application as well. So which is really cool.
Do you know, like I went to this IP and it's not showing me something. Is this?
You gotta expose the deployment, so you can do a kubectl expose deployment.
Like that?
Yeah, a kubectl expose deployment, and you have to say, you do a kubectl get deploy for a second.
My Nginx.
Okay, and you can say kubectl expose deploy my Nginx, and you can say -- equals 80, and then space target -port equals 80, and space, and give it a -- type equals load balancer with a capital L, I can't see the bottom of your screen for some reason. Okay, yeah, that's good. And give it a dash type.
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 Is it load balancer with capital L, capital B, or?
Yeah, exactly.
So like that K exposed deploy my Nginx port 80 target port 80 type load balancer. Perfect. Like that.
Yeah.
Exposed.
And then do a kubectl get deploy right. No, go back. Kubectl get SVC for the services.
So this is it.
Yeah, and then you cut and paste that load balance. Yeah. You have to wait for a little bit because it just does take a little bit of time, a couple of minutes sometimes, for the load balancer to kick in and do its thing. But it'll eventually come up.
All right. Do you want to wait for it to come up, or should we just approve this, or?
Yeah. No, go ahead and approve. Yeah. No, go ahead and approve because all of this will move to the new node and all that good stuff. Just say okay and approve. And
all right.
Yeah, so this will go ahead and upgrade. And you can actually put it on a watch command right now, Bill, and let it kubectl get nodes dash O. I mean dash W, I guess. Sorry.
Okay. Or should we look for the pods or the nodes?
I mean, you can open up the terminal on the top and watch that as well. You can split it in half, however you want to do it.
Let's try that. Let's see if we can see it all. Might get a little crowded, but kind of get the idea here.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll take a while. It'll take a while. We may not have time today, but the idea is to show folks that it's got this awesome capability,
Yeah. So, like we said, you build it today and keep this thing running for years. So exactly. We have this thing upgrading, and we're going to watch Nginx still be running when it cuts over, which AWS did all the hard work of making that magic happen. It's so easy seeing 1.7 go to 1.8, but it's so hard to have the apps move over and everything. So the next thing we were going to do, we're going to play around on GitHub. Oh, there's an app. Wouldn't you know?
Yeah, that was the app that we were looking for, huh? And then the nice thing about this is we can deploy this as a stack itself, which is really awesome because we can just quickly go in and boom, NPM npm run build and all that good stuff, and then CDK synth, CDK deploy the app,
We will downsize that. Do we need this anymore? Nah, you're fired. Yeah, we don't need you either. All right, so this one, we've got that. Change the directory into the infra. So in this code, we've got two things going on. We've got the infra folder, infra for infrastructure, and this is where the CDK app is. So we built an app here with a package.json. So that whole other thing we saw that was a whole app, this is like a folder that contains an app and it contains other stuff. It also contains the app itself. So like this is going to be where the app code is located that we can change if we want to change the app and have CI/CD change the app, which is really cool. But if we want to change the CI/CD for the app, we go in here and mess around in there. So let's go and follow the instructions for this. we need to get the role that we used to create everything with. Let's go and so he was in the other, he's somewhere back in the history here, but just to kind of show you another way you can find this. Cloud formation, there we go.
Yeah, I apologize. My dog's barking in the back.
It's okay.
Like,
do you guys have any
don't
pets?
Work this late.
I do not. No pets here.
Bill, you got any pets?
So I don't personally have one right at the time, but I have a lot of family members that have pets. So there's definitely a lot of dogs running around the Kerr family.
Oh yeah, I got 2 dogs. One's a Maltese, and the other one is like a pit bull mix. I mean, these 2 are constantly like their background noise.
I bet the Maltese is the one picking on the pit bull, huh?
Oh yeah, it's always, you know, it's he's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Alex Meister is saying dogs welcome. He was saying SHI is future proof. Oh man, it's funny. Totally.
All right, so this is how you could use parameters if you wanted to pass in cloud formation parameters. It's a little bit crammed.
So we might have to do the whole application, maybe stack deployment. We can do an extensive one, built maybe in a separate session. Might be too cramped to show everything all in one today, but yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, one thought I had is we're upgrading the cluster, I should say, because it doesn't require replacement, but I don't know what will happen if, you know what, this is time in life to learn. Let's go find out. What would happen if we try to deploy an application while the cluster is changing from 1.17 to 1.18? Will it get deployed? I don't know.
This is Twitch.
Is it going to get deployed to the 1.17 and then get...
That's right.
Is it going to get copied over from 1.7 to 1.18, or is it going to be halfway to 1.18 and just get started there? This will be interesting. So this app CI/CD stack, it might be a little bit misleading with that name. You might think, oh, it's just doing CI/CD, but really it's like the whole shebang. We could go in here with a new terminal. I don't feel like typing that much. Let me just right-click. Do CDK-LS. Yeah, there's just one stack in it, CI/CD. So that's all we do is fire that up. That's going to do everything for us.
Nice.
Yep. Okay. This will be real simple. I'll save it. So now this is going to be fun. We're going to have multiple pipelines. We're going to have this pipeline, and we're going to get a new one that's going to appear here. And I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have an interesting time here watching these stacks try to get done. So this guy might be stuck waiting for a long time because he might be waiting for EKS to be ready for him. Or he might just deploy to the old EKS, and then the other stack that's upgrading it will just eventually get around to upgrading from the old to the new. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm curious. But definitely we got a lot of moving parts here. So
if I had to guess what would go wrong, I would think the stack would fail. Like this create in progress would probably fail with some kind of error message in red. Yeah. If things go wrong, that's what I would think would happen.
I see. Kaza, how are we doing on time?
Oh, we're doing all right. We got about 25 minutes.
Okay.
So.
Alex Masha is asking, is there a way to track/monitor at all what he just said?
Rewatch the video.
Yeah, or put it in a very slow 0.5x or something like that.
Was there a particular part that you were wondering about there that we can talk about, Alex?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
look
see
at that.
it.
Oh, it
It
succeeded.
created.
Huh?
Or it
All
created.
right.
Yeah. Look at that.
Nice. Let's see. Let's see what the
So we
app is
got the new
doing, bro.
pipeline. And this is going to run for the first time and do nothing, so we'll be happy to let it do nothing. And this flow is a little bit different than the last pipeline. So the last pipeline I put a human approval in, but I wanted to put a non-human approval in. And if you think about the app, usually doesn't have a human approving. Infrastructure is a lot scarier because you could blow away an EKS cluster accidentally. So that's a little bit scarier. But for the app, it's nice to just let the developer fire something out, especially if it's a little microservice that can be well tested. So here, we've got the source, same as before. We've got this build and test. And build and test is not just validating templates anymore. It's not synthesize and test. This actually builds the app. And then when you deploy it, first what it does is does the replace change set and execute change set like before you had a human in between these two. And this is just for infrastructure right here. And then it comes down and actually does the app update, which is it's an apply command in kubectl. So once this gets through, I don't have to approve anything. It's just going to get done. Then we're going to have some fun. So this we're definitely going to get to see. We went to that IP address and it said it wasn't working, and we went to load balancer and it said it wasn't working. Well, I'll tell you, this app, we are going to get to go to visit a URL, and it's going to work. We're going to see something, I tell you.
All right. So let's go back to the command line and your IDE environment. Let's see what's going on with the nodes, the apps, and the whole 9 yards.
Well, yeah, what if it's already upgraded to 1.18 and we didn't even... You think it is?
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the kubectl.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is there a way to get like the Kubernetes version with that command?
Yeah, let's do a kubectl get no -o wide. Yeah. Did you approve the pipeline? Yeah.
I think I did. Let's go back to the other one.
Yeah. The one that's in progress. Let's see better does that.
It's still doing stuff. It's 11 minutes into it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to take some time though, because I figured about 20 minutes plus easily for that. In the meantime, this application is already deployed, Bill, so we can do a kubectl. It's actually doing a kubectl apply yet or no? It's in progress.
It's in progress.
That's fine. You can do a kubectl get pods on your current cluster to see what's it doing. kubectl get PO. It's still only the Nginx that's running that, and you can just try and see if we can hit that service command. I don't know if it's the load balancer is up right now or not. kubectl get svc. See if we can reach our Nginx pod right now.
Hey, look at that.
At
least that works. We got an application on the public internet through this ELB. And this is just any application. I mean, you could pretty much, the one we're trying to bring up that's not the Nginx Hello World, but the other app that we have, that has a good base point that you could actually run from to make a microservice that runs in this all. So you could, in theory, have made the cluster now that's going to last for 2 years from now that you can manage easy, and then you can start making apps by cloning out that app repo and building out your little microservice, and then fire up microservice A, microservice B, hook them up to like DynamoDB or RDS in the background, for their state management, and voila, you got your cookie cutter example on how to do life in Kubernetes.
So we have a question in the chat.
Go ahead, Taj.
Yeah, and so it's about these pipelines that we're creating. So
Oh,
occasionally,
it did fail.
oh, failed. Well, looks like you might be able to answer it now. They were going to ask about troubleshooting, and so we're going to get some live troubleshooting possibly here.
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Oh, I forgot to follow something in the README. I haven't done this app in a while, so I forgot. Oops, did I just?
Yeah, build logs is definitely one, and the other way is we can pipe all these logs to CloudWatch, and then we can, we can actually send it into the container insights on CloudWatch as well. We can track the logs there. So there's a lot of ways to give these logs when they fail. So.
So in my README.
Okay, so
I said you have to go and get the code build thing. So when I deployed this, I had the role, the code build role. And let's come back to find him. He was in this one. There's a resource, build project, code build role. Let's click on here so we can copy the ARN. Got that. Now it wants us to go and add this. So if you think about it, we created a role in the beginning, and we had some initial stuff set up in it, like we had it set up for EC2s to be able to get in there. But going forward, it's just a regular. So we could have actually tried to manage the role with CI/CD, and we could have done that, but for some reason I just didn't do that in this demo. I didn't make the role manage. So now that we want to actually do something with an existing role, we're going to have to go and edit it. So let's go into IAM. We'll go to the role. Go into the trust relationship. Pop it open.
I see what you're doing.
And what we're doing is we're letting code build, because what we're doing to do the kube control apply, we're actually taking advantage of the fact that we can spin up a server of code build to go and do stuff that's servery. So we need a server where we can run the kubectl command, because I just recently got a really cool thing going that could replace that idea, but I have a Lambda now that works with, it has kube control and it has Helm installed in the Lambda. And I've also figured out how to make it work with custom resources of CloudFormation, so you can actually use it like a provisioning step. After you build the cluster, you could fire off the Lambda, run your bash commands to install apps of Helm, or run kubectl commands, all from Lambda. And then you could say, okay, you're going to allow this role to have EC2 and Lambda instead of like just EC2, and then you wouldn't have to come in and do this step here where we're going to tell it code build servers are also allowed. So anyway, code build servers are allowed. Let's go back to our thing here. We saw the error message there. We'll come back to the pipeline. And thankfully, we're going to be able to just rerun a part of the pipeline. Let's retry it.
Hey, Bill, curious to see what's going on with our cluster, if it has started kicking off the upgrade or not. Because I do expect that it'll take a lot more time.
What was the command you want me to run? Kget pods or something?
Kget node dash. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it looks like it hasn't started yet because we're still on 117, so that's fine. Taj, I know we are coming up on time. We probably have only like 15 minutes, looks like. So,
yeah.
Bill, maybe we take a quick minute to kind of summarize and wrap it up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. and we'll let it play out. And if in the last couple minutes, if it comes through the finish line, we can go take a look.
Yeah, basically it's just sitting in status updating right now, and we could keep checking this page to see how it's doing. Let's see if this pipeline. Okay, this works. So we got our app deployed. So let's go and see our app.
Okay.
Okay, get us.
So I guess that means that it went ahead and deployed it on the unupgraded nodes then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we know. And knowing is half the battle. Oh, it's that thing again where you gotta wait.
Yeah, you gotta wait.
Here it is. It worked.
Yeah.
So this is basically a Hello World app, and what you could do, you could take this and run with it. So right now, we see the word pod here. So the quickest thing to kind of test this with would just be to hop over in here, go in the app, go into the views, go into the home handlebars, and just like change this to something that'll be super apparent like potty instead of pod. So we'll save that. We'll pull back here.
Bill is very creative.
So that's okay. That's not going to not do any harm. What is that graceful FS thing? Well, we'll hope that it doesn't do anything bad.
I like it.
Potty, that's the main one I want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, git add, git commit, and push. The nice thing is, so you got this whole process very automated. So whether you're deploying an app or an infrastructure, CRPM is absolutely makes your life a lot easier. That's the way I look at it.
And for this pipeline, we totally could have made a change there too. Like we could have come into code build, and we have two projects there: the build project, deploy, and we could have upgraded the size of a server there, and then back in the code pipeline. Getting too many things open here. Back here in this replace change set, execute change set, it would actually upgrade the code build server size in that point, and then our code change would actually get deployed here. Actually, let's see how our change is doing. It should be all automated. Did I push it yet?
I don't think
no.
so.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one. We got two of these things. Or am I in the right? No, I'm in the right one, right? Did I not push it? I pushed it, didn't I? Oh, username. What? Why is it asking me for username? Oh,
because you pulled the actual app from that GitHub, like the SHI one.
Okay, yeah, here's what we gotta do. Gotta come into code commit. And we gotta go in here and get the real one copied.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then we come over here. Actually, let's rename that. So this is the one. The other stuff we did was like April Fools. This is going to be legit.
That was the trick. The treat comes now.
Yeah, the Halloween treat. What's your best candy?
So.
Reese's.
Oh.
Reese's. All right. Oh my God.
Reese's
I don't know
are
how
good.
many Reese's I had.
So for me, I've got to I can't pick one. I have to divide them into two categories. One is chocolate based, and the other is like gummy based, because I think that they're just such excellent options in both. I think my favorite chocolate based is probably Twix, with Reese's coming in as a close second.
Do you get your Twix bar and you take your tooth and you kind of pull off the caramel first and eat that, and then you kind of bite into the thing after that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's the elasticity of CRPM, I guess. Mine's a good old Snickers bar, man. I'll copy up any of those. Yeah. And they got those new almond flavors and all kinds of crazy things in there. It's like, it's gone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, then I think on the
So,
gummy side,
yeah.
I like the Sour Patch Kids. Big fan of those.
Mike and Ike, yeah.
Oh, we got some Mike and Ike vote in the chat, for sure.
Yeah, and M&Ms.
M&M's with
Oh,
popcorn.
yeah.
Like, does anyone else do that? Like, I
Oh my
love.
God, really? That's an interesting combo.
Oh yeah.
When you go to the movie theater, you kind of start with one, you move on to the next,
Oh,
so you kind of combine it in your
I
stomach.
pour them in. I'll like empty like the M&Ms into the popcorn, so you get like the salty, sweet, chocolatey. It's awesome. So.
And you're making me hungry right now.
I know, right?
Sounds like trail mix, like movie theater trail mix.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Cool. Hey, Bill, if you want to go back to your IDE, I want to check and see how that, if the cluster is doing something. I thought I saw some movement there, but I could be wrong. Still at 117.
Still in progress.
Yeah, that upgrade could take a while, though.
Hey, I think this is done. So it ran through. It updated our pod to... Oh, wait a second. What is going on here? Let's take a look. It's kind of fun to get a build error.
Yeah.
Phase context status code. Error will... Ooh. This happens a lot. Yeah, Docker. I've noticed that. Like, sometimes you run the Docker commands and you'll get like service limit problems half of the time where they like throttle you and they'll cause all kinds of weird Docker errors. So it's like, that's why it's nice to have the retry thing, because sometimes the builds fail when you're using Docker. And I just got an email from Docker. I mean, it's just a generic email, but they mentioned about how like they're going to be putting these like service limits in place for how many things you can pull. So I'm getting even more scared of trying to rely on pulling stuff from free projects that aren't paid, because I'm thinking if there's only like 50 a day, or I don't want to say 50 a day. It was something that I thought, man, I would blow through that pretty fast. So I was thinking, man, I bet this build is going to start failing a lot more when I'm using an open source container.
Use your ECR. I mean, that's why we have the Elastic Container Registry. We got some exciting announcements coming up on ECR. There was a big container session that happened today. I didn't attend the ECR portion of it, but there's a lot of new exciting announcements coming from AWS, so stay tuned.
I can't wait for you to tell me about them.
Absolutely, and we're going to build more things with CRPM. You know, maybe in the next series, Taz, what we could do is show a complete application being built using CRPM, you know,
Totally.
and see how we can scale the applications. You know, in the future, we can talk about service meshes and things like that, so we can get pretty complex with CRPM. I'm really excited about this tool. Makes my life a lot easier just to edit a props file and deploy and change things. It's really exciting. Great tool, Bill.
Yep.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
It's nice. You know, it's really nice to be able to see what all you can do and just be able to look at all the properties that are available, all commented out. You don't have to use them if you don't want, but a quick glance down the page, you can kind of get an idea of what are the things that look interesting that get your attention. Like, ooh, I kind of want to set that value. It looks like a name of something I would want to set. Let me go look what the best value is to set it with, so you can go into optimization mode.
No, I really like that, the commenting and everything. Because, I mean, the usual approach is I'll just go and copy and paste, just like the like default config, but like that's not as easy to just like, I mean, the file that you provide is just so easy to just do a quick look through. So.
Yeah. I even indent them nice and put the comments, instead of putting the comment indented, I put the comment to the far left, so with your eye you can just notice these comments that are out of place. There's just like a pound sign in the middle of nowhere there. You're like, oh, that's probably a value that I could uncomment.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Well, cool. So, yeah, we're just right at about time, and so it looks like we got some cool content that we could maybe do in a future episode. But just to wrap things up, Bill, like if people want to learn more, like what's your recommendation?
Head over to our good friend Google. CRPM GitHub. You could either like click here and then click on the documentation link at the right here and go in, and we got a little kind of cool little video here, an animated video explainer, some little animated GIFs that kind of walk you through the commands that I mentioned today. Got the quick start section. We have one example of an instance that you could basically clone out and kind of tinker with. Reference guide if you were wondering what exactly it does. But yeah, I would say come over to GitHub, check it out. You could come to the SHI actual section here, and we've got a couple repos that are interesting, like today's thing that we did, CRPM EKS app, and we got CRPM EKS. So you could go ahead and play around with those, do the same thing that I did today. And I would probably, if you're interested in Kubernetes, start out with my EKS thing and just tailor it to be your own. Go through the properties files, just make it your own, and then from then on, you'll know how that all works, and you'll have your own VPC. And so you could throw out the EKS and just use that VPC that I have in there, delete out the pieces you don't need, and then you have a really good working VPS that you could play around with.
Sure.
And use it just CRPMI, CRPMLS, CRPMI. So you do your CDKLS, find your stack, CRPMI, and then if you have multiple stacks, you do -S to tell it which stack file you want to open it up and insert code into, and keep everything the way that they're imported. If you're going to change your names, keep it like compute instance or compute EC2 instance, and then put dash on the end of that, and then put like bastion or your differentiator, so that you can kind of have it flow nice from category, service to resource name, and then the extracurricular stuff you added after that. And then it just becomes real easy to filter through and sort things and be able to see where everything is. And yeah, build everything up and just build it bigger. Build first one repo, then have lots of repos. Then start cutting and pasting half your files out of one into the other. So now you have a networking repo. Now you have, and you can make a security repo by sucking out your security groups and IAM roles.
Sure.
And then just start slicing and dicing things and get organized.
Definitely.
Manage those resources in the cloud.
Well, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, that leads us to the closing of this episode and the most important part, and that is where...
Hey, potty. Look, we got it.
We
potty.
got it. Came through right there in time for the finish line.
Nice.
So awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, hardest thing and most important thing of the episode is our sign-off, and we have a choice of 3 that we can do. It is, y'all come back now, you hear? Happy trails, or, let's see here, what was it? Happy trails, giddy up. So, 1, 2, or 3, what's your vote, Bill?
Y'all.
Y'all. Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to do our best attempt at saying y'all come back now, you hear. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Y'all come back now,
Y'all
you hear.
come back now, you hear.
See you, everybody, and we'll be back next Wednesday.